Hey guys, welcome back to The Mind of Brandon. Today I'm going to be responding to a couple of videos called I'll Never Be a Vegan. There was a part 1 and a part 2, and they were uploaded by the user What Mia Did Next. And I'm just going to call her Mia for the rest of this video, but here's what she has to say.
The reason I have chosen to go down the intuitive eating path and to not follow a vegan lifestyle or vegan diet, squeaky, is because I know myself and my eating disorder well enough. I cannot put things on a naughty or bad or no list because that is blowing the door open to further restriction.
Now wait a minute, it sounds like you're implying that veganism somehow blows the door open to further restriction, right? You're gonna have to give me more details. Just how does it go about doing that? How does swapping out the animal products in your diet for vegan alternatives, how does that somehow blow the door open to further restriction?
People can say that a vegan lifestyle is not restrictive because you can eat huge amounts of food when you're on a vegan diet, and I don't discredit that or doubt that whatsoever. But we're not talking restriction in terms of calories, talking restriction in terms of what you will and will not allow yourself to have, and that falls into so many different disorders, particularly anorexia and orthorexia.
Well, if you're anorexic, that basically means that you're starving yourself to death, and I don't really see how the ability to eat more is somehow going to blow the door open to anorexia. That really doesn't make any sense. And if you're orthorexic, then that means that you're going to have all sorts of weird, irrational food phobias. So, for example, I met this one girl who, had a phobia of anything that was milky. It doesn't matter whether it was dairy milk or one of the plant-based milks. Anything that was, white and had that, basic sort of, milky consistency to it. She had a phobia of that. She just couldn't bring herself to drink something like that. I don't know why. It was just a weird, irrational phobia that she had. But there's nothing irrational about eliminating the enslavement, rape, torture, and slaughter of innocent animals from your diet. There's nothing irrational about deciding you don't want to contribute to the deforestation and other environmental impacts that are associated with contributing to animal agriculture. There's nothing irrational about deciding to cut down on the trans fat, saturated fat, and cholesterol in your diet by eating vegan foods instead of eating animal products. So, basically, you actually have less to worry about if you're eating vegan than you do if you're consuming animal products. If you're consuming animal products, then, you might start thinking, oh, I'm contributing to the enslavement, rape, torture, and slaughter of innocent animals. I'm contributing to the deforestation and the other environmental impacts. If you've been educated on the impacts that has, you might be worrying about, am I getting too much fat and cholesterol in my diet, right? You might be worrying about things that there's no reason to worry about if you're eating a vegan diet.
It looks like it's one thing on the surface, but it's pretty insidious underneath. It just makes me, when I think about potentially doing it, it makes me feel anxious and uncomfortable. Clearly that is my instinct just saying, I don't think this one's for you, sweetheart.
Or in other words, you have a weird irrational phobia of swapping out animal products for vegan alternatives. You already have orthorexia. You don't have to worry about veganism turning you orthorexic. You already have a phobia of eating vegan foods. If you disagree with me, then feel free to try out veganism, right? If I'm wrong, then you can prove me wrong by trying out the vegan alternatives to those animal products.
And it's something I would like to do. Like I said, no judgment of the actual lifestyle and the diet itself. I would love to be a vegan. I think that ethically it's fantastic. I think that it's absolutely nutritionally, it's hard to argue with.
So do it! Go vegan! I mean, you probably shouldn't try to quit animal products cold turkey and go vegan overnight. I do think there are right and wrong ways to go about it. I personally made a very gradual transition, gradually swapping out this animal product for this vegan alternative. Later in the week, I'd swap out another animal product for another vegan alternative, right? Because, I still had to, do research. I didn't entirely know what I was doing, right? I had to, find out what good alternatives are there. what stores do I have to go to find these alternatives? Because not all stores carry them, right? And so, yeah, it's the kind of thing that you want to approach without too much commitment, without too much pressure on yourself. Okay, so, if you decide, I guess I would suggest, instead of saying, I'm going to go vegan, I'm going to be, a perfect little vegan, never consume animal products ever under any circumstance, I would say that instead of doing that, it's better just to say, well, I'm gonna try out vegan alternatives. I'm gonna start with that and just kind of see where that goes, right? I think that's probably a better way to go into the whole vegan thing. Instead of starting with a commitment, instead of starting with all the pressure, I'm gonna go vegan, right? You just kind of go into it trying, you're with the attitude that you're gonna try out vegan alternatives.
And if not for the fact that I had gone through an eating disorder, and if I weren't inclined that way to use any excuse to restrict and to deprive myself, and to follow rules and structure, and that's where things start to get dicey for me, when you're putting parameters around what you can and cannot eat.
Okay, Mia, look, it's not restrictive to swap out bacon for vegan bacon. It's not restrictive to swap out eggs for vegan eggs. It's not restrictive to swap out chicken for vegan chicken, or to swap out burgers for vegan burgers. It's not restrictive to swap out cheese for vegan cheese. It's not restrictive to swap out dairy milk for non-dairy milk, to swap out dairy ice cream for non-dairy ice cream, dairy butter for non-dairy butter, to swap out dairy macaroni and cheese for non-dairy macaroni and cheese, right? It's not restrictive to swap out the animal products for plant-based vegan alternatives, okay? Look, if someone's attitude is that veganism is restrictive, that tells me that they're just not doing it right, which is not necessarily your fault, okay? If you go to a grocery store looking for vegan eggs, which do exist, some stores carry them, some stores don't. If you go to a store looking for vegan eggs and they just don't carry them, that is not your fault, okay? It's not your fault if you go to stores or restaurants looking for good vegan alternatives to the animal products that you know and love, and they just don't have them, okay? And so, this is part of why I emphasize that, when you try out the whole vegan thing, don't go into it with this commitment of, oh, I gotta be a perfect little vegan that never strays from the path under any circumstance. No, if you start trying to become more vegan, you might find circumstances where it's a good idea to stray from the path. Otherwise, you might be restricting yourself in an unhealthy way. So, if you're thinking, oh, I want some macaroni and cheese, that's what I'm craving right now, right? Because, you have that intuitive eating path, right? So you might find yourself in a situation where you're craving macaroni and cheese. There's such a thing as vegan macaroni and cheese. There's a bunch of them. Some of them are actually really good. But you might one day go to the store and find, oh geez, they're out of all the vegan macaroni and cheese. They got the dairy macaroni and cheese, but they're out of the vegan stuff. Guess I can't have any macaroni and cheese because I'm vegan. Okay, in that situation, you are placing restriction upon yourself. It's not veganism's fault. You don't blame veganism. Oh, veganism is not for me. It's too restricted. No, that's not the situation. You are restricting yourself, and you shouldn't. If you find yourself in that situation, just have the dairy macaroni and cheese. Give yourself permission to do that. I'm giving you permission to do it. Give yourself permission to do it. I'm not trying to get you to become a perfect little vegan that never under any circumstance strays from the path. We don't live in a vegan world. It's not a vegan world right now. Okay, we can gradually make it more vegan. We have been gradually making it more vegan, and the ideal scenario is we get to a point where we've completely phased out the supply and demand for animal products, completely replaced them with vegan alternatives. But we're not quite there yet. So in the meantime, it's okay to cheat every now and then. Being vegan doesn't mean that you have to be a perfect little vegan that never strays from the path under any circumstance whatsoever, to the point where you're starving yourself instead of consuming animal products. Okay, that is not what we want. Well, that's not what I want. I can't speak for all vegans, but I'm telling you, definitely do not starve yourself. Don't give yourself an eating disorder just to go vegan. Of course not. Of course not. But at the same time, recognize that if you do find yourself starving yourself because you want to be a good little vegan, that's not veganism's fault. That's on you. That's you putting too much pressure on yourself to be a perfect little vegan that never strays from the path. Don't fucking do that.
I've had questions about it and people trying to say, you know, me, you should try this, you should try that, and it's like, guys, it's just, I'm not your vegan recruit. I'm not the person for it. I know myself, I know my eating disorder, I know my recovery well enough that that is just not an option for me.
It's not an option for you to swap out dead cow burgers for vegan burgers, to swap out dairy milk for non-dairy milk. The problem here is that you're putting too much pressure on yourself. You're thinking in terms of going vegan. You're not thinking about the specifics, the nuances that go into it. The fact that you're just swapping out dead animals for plants. Yeah. Come on. Come on.
I really hope I didn't piss any vegans off with that video because, like I said, I'd love to try it. I'd love to do it. There's a lot of things that I'd really love to try and do, but my illness and disorder just doesn't allow for it.
Mia, I'm not pissed at you. I am a little annoyed that you're telling your over 3,000 subscribers, you know, how restrictive veganism is. Veganism is not restrictive. It's not restrictive to swap out those animal products for plant products. There's nothing restrictive about that. Okay, it's not veganism's fault if you go to a store or a restaurant and you can't find good vegan alternatives to the animal products that you know and love. That's not veganism that's to blame. That's a company or a business of some sort, a store, a restaurant, whatever. That's who's to blame. And if you're saying, oh well, I can't have this because I'm vegan, I guess I'll just have to starve. That's your own fault. That's your own restriction. Okay? It's not veganism's fault.
I have actually attempted a vegan lifestyle a couple of times since I've gone into recovery, even as recently as in the last 9 months, and it brought up some very, very concerning and worrying thought patterns and behaviour for me, so I very quickly had to identify, okay, this is giving the eating disorder an opportunity to sort of reappear or start to manifest again, so that had to cut out immediately, and as soon as I went back to my intuitive eating and normal eating pattern that I adopted in recovery, I was fine. So I have tried veganism because, like I said, I think ethically it's fantastic. I think nutritionally it's fantastic. It is incredibly hard to deny that veganism is one of the best possible ways of life out there, and I wish that it was something that I could do, but I cannot.
Alright, Mia, well, I'm just going to wrap this up with a few questions for you. Basically, I want to have a better understanding of your attempts at the vegan thing, like how seriously were you trying it? Were you being too serious? Were you putting too much pressure on yourself to be a perfect little vegan, right? How long were you trying it out for? Did you try to quit animal products cold turkey, go vegan overnight? Or was it closer to what I did? Was it a more gradual transition, kind of gradually swapping out animal products for vegan alternatives? Did you have trouble finding good vegan alternatives, or was it actually pretty easy when you went to stores and restaurants? Was it pretty easy to find good vegan alternatives? What kind of stuff were you eating? Was there a particular diet that you were on? Because of course there's different vegan diets. There's fully raw, there's raw till 4, were you checking vegan alternative foods to see if they were fortified with things like B12, D3? Were you taking supplements? Do you take supplements? 2 final questions. Did you have a job that might have somehow gotten in the way of things? And final question is, what was the reason that you decided to try out the whole vegan thing? Were you doing it for the animals? Were you doing it for the planet? Were you trying to do it for health reasons? Were you trying to be super skinny? Those are the questions. These, I think these are all pretty good questions to consider. Again, I'm not pressuring you to be a perfect little vegan. I'm not pressuring you to commit to the vegan label. I want you to make more vegan choices. I want everyone to make more vegan choices, right? Not only is it better for people's health, it's better for the animals, it's better for the environment, okay? So, I think it's a good way to go. I am looking forward to a video response from you. That being said, that is it for this video. I hope everyone enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and share it with other people. If you're interested in watching my future videos, please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. I do videos on all sorts of subjects, but every now and then I will do a video talking about veganism. So for those of you interested in that, I hope to see you all there. Thank you for watching. Peace, and have a good one.